A very good day to everyone. Salam SKPP Smart, Papa Smart, mendukung aspirasi mendahului perubahan. Say no to number 16 and say yes to top 10. Our Excellencies, Mr. Suhaimi bin Haji Matsyah, the District Education Officer of PPD Papar. Mr. Harun bin Ali Talasim alias Ali, the Headmaster of SK Pekan Papar. Madam Chang Yisi, SISC Plus Officer of Language Unit of PPD Papar. Madam Nohayati binti Abdul Karim, NQPEL participant for job showing. Our Honorable Dr. Alfred Adrian, Director of District Health Papar. ASP Muhammad Fauji bin Haji Sahad, the Chairman of Parent Teachers Association. Mr. Suhaimi bin Basirin, the Vice Chairman of Parent Teacher Association. Our respectable Madam Afida bin Haji Masud, Senior Assistant of Administration. Madam Norida binti Kagagis, Senior Assistant of Student Affairs. Madam Salawia binti Haji Pangeran Abdul Razak, Senior Assistant of Co-Curriculum. Teacher, parent, dear student, and to all virtual audience. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Tae Kian Hee, and I will be your host for today. We are delighted to welcome you to the webinar Smart Health, Smart English, Vaccine in a Effort. This was brought to you conjunction of SK Pekan Papar TS25 highly immersive program CARNIVAL. Ladies and gentlemen, to bless our programs today, I would like to invite Mr. Ahmad Nasri to lead recitation of prayers.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Indeed, we gathered today to express our gratitude for your priceless grace. Make us your servants who are always grateful, whether it is a small favor, let alone a bountiful favor to us. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Indeed, you are all-knowing, that we were here want to gain your vast knowledge, to develop our potential as your servants, whom you are pleased with. So bless us and bless our gathering. Give us your knowledge. Shine our hearts with your light and guidance. Hopefully, with it, we can easily accept and appreciate and practice it. Ya Zal Jalani wal Ikram, grant us health, mental fitness, peace of mind, and strength of spirit, so that we are able to face challenges, be competitive, and able to raise the dignity of ourselves, family, society, and country. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Now, please welcome Madam Afida bin Haji Masud, our Senior Assistant of Curriculum, to give a welcoming speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and greetings to our excellencies, Mr. Suhaimi alias Suhaini bin Haji Matsyah, the District Education Officer of PPD Papar, Mr. Harun bin Ali Talasim alias Ali, the Headmaster of SK Pekan Papar, Madam Chang Yishi, SISC Plus, Officer of Language Unit of PPD Papar, Madam Norhayati Abdul Karim, NPQEL participant for job showing. our Honorable Dr. Alfred Aldrin, Director of Papar Health Office, ASP Muhammad Fauzi bin Haji Sahad, the Chairman of Parents Teacher Association, Mr. Suhaimi bin Basirin, the Vice Chairman of Parents Teacher Association, Madam Norida Kakagis, Assistant Headmaster of Student Affairs, Madam Saluya Pengen Abdul Razak, Assistant Headmaster of Co-Curriculum, Teachers, Parents and dear students. First of all, let us express our deepest gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, because with His grace, we can be in one of the activity in the highly immersive program or HIP on this blessed morning. First of all, I would like to congratulate the English Language Committee on the HIP program. The webinar of Smart Health, Smart English, Vaccine is an effort. As we all know, this highly immersive program is a program introduced under the MBI policy, which aim to improve English skill among students through higher exposure to the language in the school. It also aims to foster positive attitude and views towards the learning and use of English through various activities conducted in schools. Examples of activities that can be implemented are the webinar like this, storytelling, one word a day, singing with movement, as well as presentation in weekly assemblies, and using English during school program or official ceremonies. Here I am confident and believe that the English Committee will carry out various activities to improve English ability, especially among the community of SK Pekan Papar. Before I end my speech today, I am pleased to call on and encourage all school community members always to try to communicate in English. As the English saying goes, practice makes perfect, which means regular exercise of an activity or skill is the way to become expert in it. With this, I end with Salam SKPP Smart. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the main event of our program, which is the sharing session conducted by Mr. Effendi Abdul Salam.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. I am Effendi Abdul Salam, your moderator for today. Welcome to today's webinar, Smart Health, Smart English, Vaccine is an effort. This was brought to you in conjunction of DS25 Highly Immersive Program CARNIVAL. We know that school will be reopened soon for primary schools. This topic will help us to learn better about what will happen in the school compound. Today, we will have a talk on various aspects about vaccine. Let's begin our program by welcoming Dr. Alfred Aldrin. Thank you very much, Doctor, for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for allowing me to join you.
Let me read to you the biography of our panel today. Dr. Alfred Aldrin was born on 9th of July at Taipei, Perak, Malaysia. He studied medicine at Bangalore, University of India, and training at Madras Medical College, India. Then he earned his Master in Public Health at University of Malaya. Now he is the Director of Papar Health Office.
Thank you so much.
Back to our topic, Doctor. As we know, COVID-19 has widely spread throughout the world. Millions of lives have been claimed by this pandemic. Many efforts have been done to stop the spread of COVID-19 from simple as wearing a mask, sanitizing our hand, to the most complex way by producing vaccines. My first question to you, doctor, what is vaccine? Is it medicine? And why do we need the vaccine?
First of all, I would like to thank you, Cikgu Effendi, and to the AJK of SK Pekan Papar for allowing me to join you today, and also to share a little bit about what is COVID-19, the role of vaccines, and what we can do to reduce the infection rates, and also to provide a safer community for us and our children. So, Cikgu, thank you for your question. So before we go to that, let's look at the definition of what is medicine. Medicine is a substance or a preparation that we use to address diseases at various stages. So it can be curative or palliative, earthy. For certain diseases, we can use medicine to completely remove the scourge of the disease, or we can use it to reduce the effects of the disease. A vaccine is something that is a part of a preventive process. It is a combination of a preparation where we use the vaccine to excite the body to produce antibodies and improve the immune system for a specific disease. Now, there are three main mechanisms here. The number one is we extract from a pathogen or a microbe. Either we weaken it, or we take a component out of it, or we take and we introduce it through a delivery agent into the body. And then what the body then does is it identifies the pathogen or the antigen there, and then it produces antibodies against that pathogen. So basically what we do is we prime the body, or we educate the body to recognize the threat, that is the bacteria, virus or microbe, and produce a response by initiating antibody production that can help overcome the infection. So it destroys the virus or pathogen or microbe that comes into the body. So what we do here in COVID-19 disease is, we know that COVID-19 is very infectious. It spreads through the air, and a lot of people do get infected with it. And because of the nature of this virus, we find that significant number of people in the population get very sick, need hospitalization, and some unfortunately do pass away. So to overcome this, what we are doing, because there is no specific treatment, we have certain treatment for certain situations, but there's no specific treatment for COVID. So another way is to produce vaccines that can then help the body produce an adequate immune response, so that if we can prevent the infection, or even if they do get infected, they do not get severe end of the disease, and in turn also reduces the risk of them transmitting to others. So the vaccines help the body prime itself for an infection of COVID as much as possible. Now, the vaccines not only provide protection for us, but for the community at large. Let us take, for example, a population of 100 people. Dalam 100 itu, in that 100 people, let's say we vaccinate 80% of them. So 80 people are vaccinated. So the remaining 20, if the infection were to come in, the risk of them getting infected is only 20% compared to the 80% that has been vaccinated. So the more people we vaccinate, the more protection we provide to the community. So a vaccine helps us to reduce the threat of the disease, reduce its transmission and complications, because that is the way forward that we see. Now, for COVID-19, since the introduction of the vaccines, we find a lot of countries have reported a reduction in number of hospitalizations and deaths. I hope that answers your question about vaccines and medicine.
Today, I will present how I maintain a healthy lifestyle during lockdown and the effectiveness for PDPR in my learning.
Thank you, Doctor, for the information about the vaccines. I'm sure that the audience had gained new info for your explanation just now. Let us move another question, Doctor. COVID-19 vaccine safe even though the vaccines will develop rapidly. How can we believe that the vaccine are safe, Doctor?
I think this is a very important question that is being asked by a lot of people because A, the vaccine is relatively new, and also the time taken for the vaccine to be produced did not follow your normal path of 5 to 10 years. Now, let's look at the kinds of COVID vaccine available outside there. Normally, the traditional way of producing a vaccine is we take a microbe and we weaken or we kill it. Then we introduce it into the body. The body still recognizes the virus or the pathogen as a threat, and then it produces antibodies. It excites the body to produce antibodies. Now let's look at COVID-19, how COVID-19 infection comes into our body. We have the virus. The virus comes into our body, and then it attacks one of our cells, and then it injects its protein into it, and that is a template or a recipe for that cell now to produce further viruses. So once it goes into your body, it goes and attaches to your cells and excites your cells to produce further viruses. When enough viruses are produced, they destroy that cell and get released, and these viruses now go and then infect other cells. So when we look back at that now, so this is how the virus works in the body. So how does the vaccine work? The vaccine identifies the antigen factor. So if you look at the picture of the coronavirus, you will see a T-like structure on the periphery. That is the spike protein. Now that is we would say in layman's term, the poison factor, or that is the antigenic factor. That's the one that causes all the problems. So what we have done is, since China released the genetic code for the virus, countries around the world, pharmaceuticals, what they did then is they started identifying the genetic sequence of the virus, and they started producing ways of extracting that T-shaped protein, and also they went further and identified what is the recipe or template to produce the T factor, the spike protein. So then that material was taken and used in the production of vaccine. So we have 3 or 4 modalities on how vaccines are produced in COVID-19. Number 1 is the classical method. Take the virus, weaken or kill it, and introduce it to the body. This is what Sinopharm is doing, or Sinovac. Then we also have new methods where they are using a vehicle, a vector, a viral vector. They use an adenovirus that mimics that, and they take that, they introduce this T cell template, the spike protein template, into the virus and introduce it into our body. That virus will not cause any infection, but then will excite our body to produce antibodies. That's another way, producing viral vectors, for example, AstraZeneca. Then you have the new methods like mRNA. Now what that does is, it goes into the virus and identifies the template for the production of the spike protein. It pulls out that factor, and we use a biphosphate lipid layer as a delivery agent, like a taxi. We put that material and we send it into our body. Once it comes into our body, it goes into the ribosomes in our body, our cell-producing cells, goes into it and then gives that recipe. So after that, what happens is they're just producing only the spike protein. They don't produce the whole virus, only the spike protein. That spike protein will then circulate, and our body identifies, it goes and attaches to certain cells, and our body identifies that and produces antibody. So there are ways like mRNA vaccines, there are viral vector vaccines, and there are classical vaccine production. So there are many modalities that we are currently using to produce the vaccine. That's number 1. The pathophysiology behind how these things are produced. Now let's go to the vaccine production. That's what people are concerned. Generally, any vaccine being produced has got certain phases. The first phase is known as the preclinical phase. In the preclinical phase, what happens is, they identify the viral agent to be used, or an agent they want to use. They will identify the delivery vehicle, Then they will identify the process in how it reacts, and they will do testing. They will make sure of these processes first. So they identify the processes they want to use. Then they will do animal testing. Animal testing can be on mice, monkeys, pigs, and so forth. After the phase where they are confident that the desired outcome is achieved, then they go to the second phase. The second phase is the clinical phase. Clinical phase, there are three phases: phase 1 or phase 2A, 2B, 2C. The difference between the phases is the number of people they will include into the study. They will start with a small number, maybe around 80 to 100. Then they go up to 1,000. Then in certain cases they go up to 10,000 and 40,000 like in AstraZeneca, where they will increase the number of test subjects. They will keep the test subject and the placebo subject, and they will see the effect. Now in that process they will identify, number one, the safe methods they can use, the dosage, the kind of vaccine, and also the interval, how many doses they have to give. So all this process identified. At the same time, they will monitor all the side effects, and they will then decide is the risk and the benefits which outweighs. If the benefits outweigh the risk, then they will proceed to the next phase. If they don't, they will be rejected. So many vaccines fail at this stage. Only few vaccines pass this stage to go to the next phase. So let's say now they do find one with relatively good outcome, then they will be sent to the scientific bodies, the FDA dan sebagainya. They will be sent to them for scrutiny. That's when other medical bodies will examine these vaccines and to check the efficacy, the safety, and the process. So let's say they do approve, then they will look at the capacity of the pharmaceutical. Can they produce enough vaccines? How are they stored? How are they delivered? And how are they administered? So all this has to take into account. It's not just enough getting a vaccine, and if the vaccine works, we must make sure that the supply must be enough to get the objective. So there are various processes. Now after all this, when we come to actual implementation of virus in the field, the studies will carry on. We will still monitor. For example, for us now, in Papar, every vaccine we give, we monitor for adverse effects, and if there are adverse effects, we will report it. And periodically, what we do, the state will have meeting with us where they will discuss these adverse effects, and then we will report to the central, and then the country will report to WHO. So and then you can also go to WHO or you can go to CDC, where every week you will get a report on adverse effects around the world. So the whole world is monitoring its adverse effect per vaccine, per area, per dose. So there are very stringent steps that we monitor. We did monitor and we are continuing to monitor to ensure that the vaccines are as safe as possible. Now, there are adverse effects because the human body is not the same for everyone. There are adverse, and they are monitoring it. So every time an adverse effect happens, it is being reported, monitored and evaluated and determined whether it's directly caused to the vaccine or is it indirectly caused due to the vaccines. So this data is being collected and studied. Hopefully, such incidents will reduce in time. So safety and precaution, it's being monitored and we are doing our best to implement as safe as possible, and there are steps in place where it's being monitored strictly. Sorry for the lengthy, but I wanted to get everything clearly explained because we need to know that what are the steps involved and how they are being monitored and who are the ones doing the monitoring. Yes. I hope that helps you.
Very depth explanation about the vaccine. I'm sure all of us up there waiting to know about it. So now we know that the vaccines that we have got is safe and approved by the World Health Organization, WHO. Doctor, for your knowledge, 100% of SK Pekan Papar staff already have taken our 2 doses of vaccine. But still we know that we need to always wearing masks in public and ensure our social distancing when we see our friends. If someone got affected by COVID-19, doctor, what are the symptoms that we will have? What should we do if we have the symptoms? And are there any method that we can use now that we are affected by COVID-19 or not?
Okay, so I believe you have three questions in that statement. The first question is, I have been vaccinated, why do I still need to wear the mask? A lot of people are asking this question. Okay, let's look at it. So what does a vaccine does is, a vaccine prevents you from getting the severe end of the disease. So if the virus comes into your body, we hope in time produces enough antibodies to protect you from the severe end of the disease, meaning hospitalization, complications and death. That's one thing. But sometimes the body needs time to respond. That is why we give vaccines to kickstart that process. But at the same time, let's look at someone who gets infected on a Sunday. They may develop symptoms on Friday. That's normally about 3 to 5 days after the exposure, the person develops symptoms. But we also know that 1 to 2 days before you develop symptoms, you're already infected. Because when the virus goes into your respiratory tract, it multiplies and it gets expelled out. So let's say a person gets exposed on Sunday, develops fever on Friday, he may have been infective on Wednesday. So there is a time period where he can still expel the virus into the air and infect other people. So we don't want people to get infected because he might infect someone who has not been vaccinated. So what we want to do is, we want to make sure that not only the person is safe from the disease, but he also reduces the risk of transmitting to others. The virus can still infect you, but you will not get the brunt end of the disease. The same thing with every other vaccines. Only difference is some vaccines act very fast that you do not have the potential to even transmit a lot because of the way the antibodies kick in. So that is that. But for this because there is some time frame for the virus to establish itself, spread and cause symptoms, and infective period is a bit ahead. That is why we still say please be careful and wear the mask. That's another one thing. The second question I believe was booster. You wanted to know about boosters, if I'm not mistaken. So what happened is recently we identified variants of concern. So variants of concerns basically are modified, mutated viruses that are more aggressive and cause more complications. So in order to overcome this, what we are doing is we are encouraging the boosters to be given early. So there are two components here for the boosters. The first one is, if they have got highly immunocompromised conditions, cancer patients, people with severe systemic illness, HIV infections, organ transplant, these people we encourage them to take third dose after a month from the second dose. But for the others, especially those with elderly and with comorbid factors, we recommend Sinovac 3 months after the second dose. You can go for the booster, or you can take Pfizer 6 months after the second dose as the booster dose. But if you belong to the very high risk group, you don't go for booster dose, you go for additional dose. That's 28 days after the second. So that is what you will see when the government gives two definitions, dose penggala dan dose tambahan. This is the difference, depending on the medical condition and your comorbid factors. That's one thing. The other thing is, how do I know if I'm infected or not? So there are certain tests that are available for us to identify if a person is infected or not. So it goes back to the principles of two main bodies of tests. The first test is something that we use, the viral test. Under viral test, what we do is we identify the virus or its antigen. So when we use the virus, there is a special test called nucleic acid amplification test using a PCR. That's the polymerase. Everyone hears PCR. So PCR basically identifies the nucleic acid component of the virus, and then we will confirm that this is a viral infection due to COVID. This infection is fairly sensitive, but it takes a little time. It takes about 2 to 3 days for the results to come out. But there are newer machines, more expensive machines that can give it faster. The second test is we identify the antigen, the T spike protein, the spike protein. That antigen is identified, and that's the rapid test kit. That's the RTK, rapid antigen test. So that one, it can, and our home kits that are available now, the home test kits, they are based on the antigen test. So earlier the antigen tests were not that compared to now. Nowadays the new breed, the new generation of RTKs are more sensitive and more specific. So a person can do this, it's self-operable. You can do the test in your home and the results will come fairly quick. The only thing is once you get the confirmation of the result, please contact the public health office and we will advise you what to do next. Okay? Because we have to decide, we have to assess your comorbid factors and then we will decide whether you can continue surveillance at home or you need to be put in a medical facility, depending on your comorbid factors. Because the most important thing with the home surveillance is the usage of the oximeter sebab we find there are people who are healthy but the oxygen desaturation occurs and they don't know and then suddenly they collapse because of low oxygen concentration in the body. That's why the government advises you to get a pulse oximeter and to monitor along with signs and symptoms. So A, you can do the test at home and if you are positive, please contact the nearest health office.
Thank you, Doctor, for the detailed explanation. It is very relief to hear that we can test ourselves by using the COVID-19 test kit. It is much easier and much faster to get the result. Well, Doctor, the latest effort from PKM is that vaccine are to be given to students 12 years old and above. And we have achieved more than 90% vaccinated population in Malaysia. So, Doctor, we are now at the end of our discussion. We will leave for you to make a conclusion about our topic. Smart Health, Smart English vaccine is an effort.
Alright, so I think it's a very good heading that you have. And first of all, let me congratulate Cikgu Effendi and all involved for achieving a very good vaccination rate for your teachers and students. Currently, we are vaccinating the ages 12 to 17. That's the group we are addressing now. Regarding booster for this group, we have not determined yet because we are still learning about boosters and how frequent we are supposed to administer them and what intervals and number of doses. We are still learning about that. And as new data comes in, I'm sure the government will update everyone on that. Now, regarding the awareness of the vaccines, I implore everyone to please get the correct data from the correct sources. You can go to the Ministry of Health, you can go to WHO, you can go to CDC. There are a lot of credible sites for you to obtain the needed information. And there are also a lot of Q&As that you can ask and get your questions answered from the right people through the right platforms. If you want, you can always contact the public health office and we will try our best to answer your questions. That is one. Number two is regarding vaccine is an effort. Now let's look at the word effort. What is the definition of the word effort? Effort is a concentrated work or a concentrated process filled with determination and hard work for us to attain a certain objective or end. So an effort is something that someone puts into and works tirelessly to achieve an objective or an end. So I believe in this. Let's look at let's look at COVID-19. This pandemic has affected almost every country, almost every home and businesses. People have lost their livelihoods, people have lost family members, and people are still recovering. Families have lost everything from lives to income, and it's very devastating. Countries are also at loss. Sabah depends a lot on tourism, and our tourism was badly affected due to this. A lot of companies, especially in the tourism industry, are affected, and it's still ongoing, but we are learning and we are coping. and a lot of challenges that we have to face. So this is not just something that only one person can contribute. All of us need to work together and need to come together to fight this disease at every level, from awareness, from helping one another to cope, from reducing the number of transmission, reducing the number of cases that get admitted, reducing the number of people that die, protecting our children, protecting our elderly. The elderly is our history. We need to preserve them. The children are our future, our legacy. We need to keep them safe. So we need to come together. We need to understand what needs to be done, and we have to do it. Most important thing is to keep ourselves, our families, and our community safe. So please get educated, get the correct information, and act with information. Please do not act based on hearsays and whims and fancies and taboos and all that. Please get the correct information. We are in a digital age where we can get the correct information as much as possible. And I implore the teachers, because you are the fundamental channel of knowledge, please spread the correct information and help us combat this disease effectively. Hopefully, very soon, this disease will become something like a simple cold, and all of us can get back to our lives. So it's very important that we take opportunities like this to discuss and do our best to answer questions as much as possible. So to summarize, Cikgu, it is infectious, it's still around, it keeps learning, it keeps improving. That's why we've got variants of concern. So let's not take it lightly. People are still suffering from it, and we need to be working together concentratedly to increase our vaccination drive, increase our detection rate, reduce transmission rates, reduce mortality and morbidity. And I really hope that we all can come together and overcome this problem together. Thank you, Cikgu.
Well, guys, that it's for today. We would like to thank you again, our respected guest, Dr. Alfred Adrian.
Thank you, Cikgu.
Was willing to lend his free time even though we know that is a very busy person.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Doctor, and thank you also for watching us, and please don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video to others. Salam SK Pekan Papar, salam SKPP Smart. Bye.
We have now come to the end of our program today. We would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for joining us today. We hope you have learned and enjoyed this program. Thank you very much.